Hello, my name is Gina Bellavo. I'm going to speak to you today about a book that I've recently read, Walk the Walk, the #1 Rule for Leaders by Alan Deutschman. Alan Deutschman is a renowned expert in the field of leadership and change. He worked as a journalist covering Silicon Valley for 24 years and went on to write 2 other bestsellers, Change or Die and The Second Coming of Steve Jobs. He's appeared multiple times as a commentator on CNBC, Bloomberg Television, and NBC. He now also is a lecturer at the Reynolds School of Business at the University of Nevada, Reno. In his book, Mr. Deutschman defines leadership as changing the way that people think, feel, and act. He goes on to differentiate leadership from stewardship, which is the careful managing of resources in an organization, lemmingship, which is the tendency of management to repeat the same flawed techniques again and again with disastrous consequences, as we've seen in the financial sector in the United States, and rulership, which is like a dictatorship, and he uses the example of the character Tony Soprano from the television show The Sopranos. He uses a number of varied examples to show what it means to walk the walk. The target audience for this book is anyone who leads or who aspires to lead. People who have this desire need not be in a formal position of authority, and in fact, informal leaders can exist on many levels in an organization. He also goes on to say that not everyone who's in a position of authority is truly a leader, and in fact, many of these people are lemmings, stewards, or rulers. Some of the most engaging and influential parts of this book are Mr. Deutschman's in-depth and varied historical examples. He crosses the realm of the civil rights movement, sports, military leadership, and pulls from a variety of industries, including transportation, technology, and food services. His stories at times are gripping and inspirational, and he writes about people who have overcome tremendous adversity in their leadership journey. A particularly poignant example of leadership is in his telling of the story of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of nonviolence and equality. He identifies the steps that we must take on our personal leadership journey. The beginning of this is defining our one or two things that we hold the most dear. He uses the example of Southwest Airlines, whose commitment to their 1 and 2, employee loyalty and profitability, has afforded them the success in an industry where profits are rare and bankruptcies common. He goes on to say that repeatedly acting in congruence with your 1 and 2 is how you walk the walk. There are some flaws in Mr. Deutschman's model. This includes the oversimplification of leadership. Nearly all of the examples that he used were people at the top of their organization, the head coaches of sports teams, CEOs and founders of multinational organizations. These people, through their legitimate position authority, are able to establish the 1 and 2 for their organization, whereas someone in a lower ranking role may not have that latitude or capacity. He also did not always show a clear link between the leader's behavior and the ongoing success of the organization. One such example would be the McDonald's Corporation. He attributed their success for Ray Kroc's, the founder's, compulsive cleanliness. He cited multiple examples of Mr. Kroc picking up trash from the store's parking lot and the road approaching the first stores. This might have been a key factor in the success of that first restaurant, but the ongoing success, the globalization of this franchise, probably relies more on adroit marketing, cheap food, and economy of scale. I would certainly recommend this book to anyone who's transitioning to a leadership role, any leader who feels stuck and can't motivate their employees, or any employee that's feeling managed and not led. Mr. Deutschman definitely showed how modeling behavior consistent with your values and mission can define you as a leader. He provided many interesting tales of leadership and even some cautionary tales of failed stewards, lemmings, and rulers to support his premise. And in fact, the fact that he cited so many varied examples from a broad cross-section of society really lends credibility to his ideas and implies generalizability. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Good night.